What's up YouTube, Max of Armify here with the continuation to the previous part to this video. So again, in front of me I have my Rockford Fosgate P2 as well as my Kicker CVR12. Now what happened was I wired this subwoofer in series with both the voice coils, so I increased the impedance to 4 ohms, and this was originally wired in series to increase it to 4 ohms. I connected them to my amplifier, both boxes in series, and I was pushing this one quite well, but this one was barely hitting. I was not sure what was going on, so what I did was I wired both of these up in parallel with my amplifier, so each subwoofer was being driven by a single channel on my stereo jackhammer MTX audio amplifier. So what I've done is again, these two subwoofers were in parallel with that amplifier, and what was happening was they were hitting well, but they were only getting around 200 watts. So I went and got the box of my amplifier again, and I read the specifications on the back, and I read that at 4 ohms, which both of these were wired to, at 4 ohms they're only going to be getting 200 watts, but at 2 ohms they're going to be getting 400 watts, which is the capacity of this amplifier. So what I've done is I drew up a little circuit for you guys in case you guys are interested, and I'll explain it to you in a second. What I've done is I've wired the coils of each subwoofer individually in parallel to decrease the impedance of 2 ohms per voice coil down to 1 ohm, and then I wired the boxes in series to double that impedance back up to 2 ohms so that it can be driven by the amplifier. Now if we move over to this little schematic that I've drawn over here, I'm just gonna let the camera focus. Okay, now I can't find my pencil, but I'm just gonna use a screwdriver to point out stuff. So in front of me I have my two subwoofers. Both have dual voice coils. If you look over here, one voice coil, two voice coils, and then the same thing applies for the second subwoofer. Now, as you may know, each voice coil has its positive and negative terminals. So like I said before, what I did was I bridged these two terminals on each subwoofer. So the negative is going to connect to the negative, positive is going to connect to the positive, and then that bridge is going to be connected to the back of the box. Come on, it's not focusing. Hold on. Alright, screwed. I don't know, my phone is not focusing today. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with 2 ohms. You got to remember your parallel and series laws for impedance. When you wire them in parallel, what's going to happen is you're going to have the impedance. So in this case, I've wired this subwoofer in parallel. It started off at a 2 ohm impedance voice coil, and I dropped it down to 1 ohm. I cut it in half. Same thing applies here. Started off with 2 ohms, wired the coils in parallel, and it dropped it down to 1 ohm. Now, my amplifier right now that I'm using, the MTX Audio Jackhammer, it's not stable at 1 ohm. It's only stable at 2 ohms, right here, and 4 ohms. So you might be asking, why did I go through this entire circuit to start off with 2 ohms and end up with 2 ohms? Well, what would happen is if you wanted to drive one of your woofers at 2 ohms, you would need to wire one of its voice coils in parallel. You got to remember that each subwoofer has 2 voice coils. So you're going to have a 2 ohm load over here, a 2 ohm load over here, a 2 ohm load over here, and a 2 ohm load over here. And you're wiring all that in parallel. So that might not be able, your amplifier might not be able to drive that kind of a load. So what I've done is I've wired it down to 1 ohm and wired it down to 1 ohm. So at the back of the box, each subwoofer holds a 1 ohm load. Now what I've done is, like I said, my amplifier can do a 1 ohm load. I have two choices. I can wire this in series, or I can wire it in parallel. As you can see, I've bridged the negative and the positive terminals from each box. Therefore, I have wired it in series. Why did I wire it in series? If I were to wire it in parallel, I would have this 1 ohm impedance and make it 0.5 ohms, a 0.5 ohm load. And most amplifiers are not able to drive a 0.5 ohm load stable. So what I did was instead of using it at 0.5 ohms, I doubled it to 2 ohms. How did I double it? Go back to your laws. You might need to brush up on your parallel and series circuits and all those Kirchhoff's laws. I wired them in series. All right. So negative goes to a positive, and then the negative from here and the positive from here go to the amplifier. So again, what I've done is I've just doubled the impedance from 1 ohm. It's gone to 2 ohms. Now this may apply to this may apply to different subwoofers with different impedances. You just want to make sure, if you're going to be using the circuit, make sure that the impedance on each of the voice coils are identical to the other. All right, you don't need to match wattage and RMS and all those ratings. You just need to match the impedance. So in this case, I have a 2 ohm dual voice coil, 2 ohm dual voice coil. This circuit will work. And I already have them hooked up. Okay, I'm going to explain to you what I've done on that subwoofer, just so that you can, if you don't understand the diagram, you might be able to understand if I actually show it to you on the sub. Again, what we've done is we start off with 2 ohms, we wired them in parallel, dropped it to 1 ohm, wired them in series, both the boxes in series, and we increased it back to 2 ohms. Over here, we're running a bridged, the bridge terminals on the stereo amplifier. This will also work on a mono amplifier. Also make sure that the amplifier is able to be bridged. Anyways, and we're able to drive the total 2 ohm load. So if we move over to the amplifier, not the amplifier, if we move over to this subwoofer, this is my Rockford Fosgate. Whatever I'm doing over here, I've already done over here. I just finished putting in the screws because I had to wire them in parallel, and I had to remove it, and I had to put a bit of glue on the screws because the screws weren't sticking anymore. Because I've removed this subwoofer a couple times, and the threads on the hole in the box have actually worn down. So this is the sub right here. If I go over to my terminals, you might not be able to see it. It's kind of dark. If I follow this down, this is the... Sorry. So this terminal right here is the negative terminal. This is going to go to the back of my box. Now I have 2 wires going into it. One comes from the box, goes to this voice coil. The other one follows it all the way around, and it connects over here. So that's how I bridge the 2 negative terminals. Now if I look at the red terminal, my positive, one's coming from the box. This one's going from the box. This one goes to that red terminal. So this red terminal is being powered, and it comes all the way over here, and it connects in here. So that's how I bridge the 2 voice coils on this dual voice coil subwoofer. Alright, so I hope this video helped, and stay tuned for the next part. I'm going to put this into the box. I'm going to set up the speakers on the wall over there so that my amplifier doesn't look lonely anymore. And hopefully you should hear some sound by then. Alright, thanks for watching, and stay tuned.